G'day legends, I hope that you're all doing well and having a great Wednesday, finally hump day. We're more than halfway through the week. So today what we're going to talk about is of course, the massive drone attacks that Ukraine has had across Russia. And this is the largest drone wave of this entire war that Ukraine has actually launched against Russia so far. We're going to look at Prigozhin's funeral, some intel from the ISW, some Ministry of Defense MOD update, and then, of course, a look at the maps, as well as some more equipment that Ukraine is getting in. Now, firstly, Ukraine has launched, as I said, the biggest drone attack of this war so far, with drones launching an attack on the Pskov international airfield in western Russia, reportedly damaging or destroying 4 IL-76 military transport planes, with the others on the airfield being scrambled to get airborne, so out of the danger area of this. Now, there's been a lot of claims regarding that there's fires and explosions have also been at a number of other military facilities in the same region, as well as a result from saboteurs and drones. And there has been an amount of drones in Sevastopol in Crimea, reportedly working as well with the sea kamikaze drone boats also. So we're going to look over the footage of this, what is going on, the amount of damage. This mixed with the large pushes we're seeing in the south near Robotyne. Many are saying that this is really the beginning of the third phase of Ukraine's counter-offensive then operation. And could these drone attacks be from the trailer we saw that Ukraine released, talking about massive drone attacks against Russia dated back to the August the 25th, so only 5 days ago. So let's go over this, have a look at where was hit and some measurements of this, because some people are a bit skeptical on some of this. So these are the regions that have reportedly been hit. So here we have the Pskov airfield up here. There was some in Moscow, in Ryazan, Kaluga, Bryansk, and Orlov as well. So these have all been hit with a mix, they're saying, of saboteurs, but mainly drone attacks also. Now, Pskov, this is the main one that people are talking about. So apparently 4 IL-76 aircraft, which is this one here, has been taken out. We're going to talk a little bit on that, but let's have a look at some of the footage here. So this is a plume of smoke rising there, and we have more footage here as well. You can see very, very hot burning here, as well as after explosions here from fuel, from ammunition, whatever was there too.
Не пойму, в каком районе, как аэропорт, что ли.
So that has also been geolocated to be at that area. So you can just see how intense this was from an amount of drone attacks there. As well, we see a drone was shot down over the Oriol region as well. You see, you blink and you'll miss it. So there you go. I don't know if I've got any audio on this one. I thought I did, maybe not. But you can just see the bullets going here and then seeming to strike the drone down there. As well, this is reported to be the video of the IL-76, of one of them burning, one of the 4 reported burning. But look, I've looked at this video a million times and I can't really make it out. I know there wouldn't be much left, but I can't really make it out from that. As well, we have this from Bryansk region as well, of a drone strike as well. So an amount of strikes. There you hear the bang there. Someone could work out how far away that was by that. But an amount of strikes all over Russian. But the one up here near Estonia, let's go onto this map to get a better look at Pskov here. This is the one that people are most talking about, mainly due to then the distance. So let's have a look then at this airbase. So if we come in to then Pskov here, might be a bit slow to load. Let's go on to then the satellite, and then this is the airfield here. Now, this is a mix both of civilian and military aircraft at this base, but we can actually see that these are IL-76 airframes here on the, I don't know what you call this, maybe the apron of the airfield. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's called, but that these have been struck, an amount of them. Now, this photograph, of course, was from a while back, but you get the idea of how many there could be hit. Now, what people are looking at is the distances here. Now, what we need to keep into account is Ukraine's Beaver drones have a distance of said to be 1,000 kilometers. But where people are pointing fingers is, well, where did this actually then fly? Because even going across then Belarus to the closest point of Ukraine here somewhere is, say, 660 kilometers. So within range, if it came over, then somewhere through Belarusian airspace. But there would be a way to get around this as well, but of course opening yourself up to more air defense. So people are pointing fingers that it may have gone through Belarusian airspace. Belarus has used their own land as a platform to launch Russian missiles and Russian troops into Ukraine. So in my opinion, they're fair game. But a lot of people are claiming that it did come from then Estonia. So if we do a measure distance again as well, now this won't be exactly, but it's going to be close enough. We're talking under 40 kilometers, maybe 35 k's. But there is no evidence to show that then at all. And people are already speculating that it was actually Wagner PMC from Belarus, who is, of course, against Russia sort of at the moment with the downing of Prigozhin's plane and subsequently the assassination, being some of the saboteurs within Russia on these attacks also. But evidence of this, there's also very little of it. So is it completely possible that Ukraine did get a Beaver drone right up into here? Absolutely. We have seen Ukraine push a long way in to Russia before. So this is not completely out of what we have seen before. So of course we have then the Saltsy 2 airbase in Novgorod region up here, which is fairly close to where we're looking. So this is Pskov. We had this only last week where the Tu-22, I believe, Tu-22 was taken out there. Now that was reported as damaged in the beginning too, but that was completely then written off. So you can see this is the same location here. So it's definitely possible that Ukraine can strike this deep in, and rumours will just be rumours. Now, it seems that Russia has responded with a large missile wave towards Ukraine. As I'm filming this, there are reports of Russian bombers launching missiles towards Ukraine, and a nationwide air alert has been activated as well. There are reports that air defense is active in multiple regions and multiple explosions. So far, literally just as I look this up, it's being reported that there have been debris fall causing fires through Kyiv as well. Kyiv mayor has said on Telegram, at the addresses of medical calls, so far no victims have been found. Fire and rescue services are extinguishing a fire in the Donetsk district, which is burning after debris fell on a roof of a commercial premises, and in the Shevchenkiv district, where a fire broke out in the administrative building. Although in the recent months, with Ukrainian security and intelligence services detaining those who share any videos of strikes or damage because of the potential maybe BDA, the battle damage assessment you can get from these footage, we don't have any of that come out anymore. Well, not that much of it, so we don't really get a clear picture of what the damage is, at least very quickly. So there's been a huge wave of Ukrainian drone attacks, a wave of missiles back. We don't know how much damage that has caused. We don't really know how much the Ukrainian ones caused into Russia yet either. So it's just Audio Willy here. I forgot to put this in. I don't know why. I just missed it in the folder I had. But this came out from a very popular pro-Ukrainian blogger. The strike tonight is a great hit on the Russian Air Force. Well done. But the loss of any number of IL-76s will not have an effect on the war at all. It's slow, non-stealth, and far out of date. It can't get near Ukraine without getting shot out of the sky. So great job. And at least Russia has a few less heavy aircraft to use. Now, I actually disagree with this. Yes, it may not have on the front line of combat operations, but a plane like this can travel international. It can move drones or weapons from countries into Russia. It can move equipment throughout Russia. It can be used as a paratrooping platform, moving soldiers, equipment around Russia. At the end of the day, bullets don't fly without supply, and these are a transport aircraft. As an infantryman, I hate to say that, like, the logistic support, transport, things like this, that's what makes wars won or lost. And this actually, I believe, is a huge loss if it is 4 of these. I know Russia does have a lot of them, but I do disagree with this, that I believe this is actually a very big loss. I think the loss of this is significantly more than if these were 3 or 4, however many it is, fighters or bombers also. Now, Russia's military has said that its forces had destroyed 4 rapid Ukrainian assault boats, carrying a total of 50 soldiers on an operation on the Black Sea around midnight Moscow time, although no footage or evidence has actually been public. The Russian MOD has written on Telegram, on August the 30th at about midnight Moscow time, a naval aviation aircraft of the Black Sea Fleet in the Black Sea destroyed 4 high-speed military boats with landing groups of servicemen of the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces, totaling up to 50 people. And we have seen footage from GoPros on both Ukrainian Special Forces and footage from Russian fighter aircraft of that fighting in the Black Sea over the last few weeks, of the plane engaging and then them engaging back at the plane. The outcome of that, we don't actually really know. So what we're going to look over next is Yevgeny Prigozhin's funeral has been held here. Now, I don't have videos, but there was a massive amount of people then at this. And then from these photos, this is then his gravestone. So this here, translated, says, "Mother to Christ, at a lost, are you God or Son? You're nailed onto the cross. Tell me how to go on. How can I go, having not understood, grasped, but derived? Are you my son or God? That is dead or alive." He in turn explained, "Dead or alive, this time, woman, it's all the same. Son or God, I am thine." And we know that there has been services held for Prigozhin throughout Russia as well. Now, the US has announced to Ukraine another $250 million additional security assistance. So AIM-9M missiles for then air defense, additional ammunition for rocket artillery, of course, then the HIMARS system, 155 and 105 RD rounds, mine clearing equipment, which is desperately needed, tube launch, optically tracked, wire-guided tow missiles, Javelin and other anti-armor system, Hydra 70 rockets, and 3 million rounds of small armoured medical treatment vehicles and high mobility multipurpose vehicle, Humvee, ambulances, demolition munitions, spare parts, and maintenance for other field equipment. So more kit going in there as well. And the ISW has released this, they believe is intelligence from the Ukrainian GUR about how the Kremlin is focusing on then their propaganda. So the Ukrainian main military intelligence directorate, the GUR, who's separate to the SBU, reported that the Kremlin is currently focused on promoting 5 main information operations against Ukraine, all of which ISW has observed. The GUR reported on August the 29th that the Russian presidential administration held a meeting on August the 25th to approve the specific narratives that Russian media should promote in the informational space. The Russian narratives include claims that Ukraine is conducting mass mobilization regardless of age, gender, or health. Claims that Ukraine's Western partners are disappointed in Ukraine's prospects for victory. Claims that the Ukrainian counteroffensive is failing. Claims that the Ukrainian government is completely corrupt and is not fighting corruption. And claims that Russian authorities provide good living standards and conditions in occupied Ukraine. Russian First Deputy Presidential Chief of Staff Sergei Krylenko and the Russian media representatives reportedly attended the meeting. ISW has observed all 5 false narratives in the Russian informational space. So with propaganda, all propaganda needs to have some element of truth and then expand on that to then put in your false narrative. So all propaganda has some degree of truth here. So is Ukraine conducting mobilization? Yes. Regardless of these things, then no. Are Western partners disappointed in how quickly the counteroffensive is going? Somewhat. We have seen that publicly, and we've seen Ukrainian officials say it's not going as quickly as we'd want. Is there now no prospect of victory? That is false as well. And is the counteroffensive failing completely? No. Also, we're seeing a lot of movement made. We're going to talk about that further on. So is there corruption in the Ukrainian government? Of course. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has just laid off one of the heads of the SBU down in an oblast today on what people are saying is corruption there too. So completely corrupt? No. Not fighting corruption? No. Long way to go? Absolutely. So this is what we talk about. All propaganda has some element of truth, and then you have to build on that to somewhat make it believable or swing people in, if that makes sense. And we know that both Ukraine and Russia use a lot of online bots and astroturfing bots to push certain narratives around. That's been tracked by many universities and many people who do online studies like this. As well, the British Ministry of Defence has released this in their Intel update. Military service in the Russian armed forces has become increasingly lucrative since the invasion. On the 4th of Feb 2022, Russian President Vladimir Putin noted that a lieutenant received 81,200 rubles per month. By October 2022, he announced that even mobilised private soldiers would receive 195,000 rubles per month. Many junior ranks serving in Ukraine are now on over 200,000 rubles per month. It's just under 2,100 USD. Now, that might not seem like a lot of money, but if you extrapolate that into the average earnings in Russia, that is a hell of a lot of money. This is 2.7 times the Russian national average salary of 72,851 rubles. By way of comparison, 2.7 times the average UK salary would equate to over £90,000 per year. that these are then relative. It is highly likely that the salary and additional benefits are a strong incentive for personnel to join up, especially to those from the poorer areas of Russia. However, Russia is still unlikely to meet its target for recruiting volunteers to the ranks. As we know, you don't only need volunteers, you can also mobilize soldiers from there. So let's have a look at the maps, and we have a little bit to go over in this. So, of course, we have Ukraine in the center, the capital of Kyiv. The red areas occupied since 22, and the purple since 14. And I've managed to get these white train lines back up, as we know they are very important. Now, what we have seen is Ukraine has made some ground over in the left bank of the Dnipro in the Kherson Oblast and has managed to hold some of this. So if we step back, we see then the blue pop up in here, then crossing over there. And we have a video released that has been geolocated there of flying then the Ukrainian flag. So then here, hoisting up the flag and flying the Ukrainian flag there. So very interesting. So let's look at Syriac maps as said. Ukrainian-Russian war, day 550. Situation Kherson front. Recent video footage shows Ukrainian flag being raised in the small settlement of Thankyou. During several weeks, there was intense back and forth in this locality as Ukrainian army attempted to set a foothold this shore of the river Dnipro to divert Russian army reinforcements to Kherson instead of Zaporizhzhia. We know Ukraine is having their main push. Despite intensity and Russian artillery in the settlement, Ukrainian forces managed to consolidate the positions inside Thankyou, which may promote new landing operations on the Russian shore and make it difficult to send troops to the southern front. So basically saying now that Ukraine has some small foothold here, although a lot of back and forward, that Russia may have to draw troops away from Zap Oblast down into here to defend this. And this is so somewhat ties in with how we saw Sarah talking yesterday about more boats for Ukraine. So a small landing is one thing, but to get the amount of armor, artillery, things like this to make a push there, you're going to need a lot more than a few guys pushing across there. It's going to have to be a major push. So let's head down to where we're seeing the most amount of operations, and this ties into what I said in the beginning, that people saying these mass drone attacks that we've seen tie in with a lot more seeming to push in the south here, as well as how people say that Ukraine's tactics have changed from a multiple aspect front to a fist push in one area straight down. And we are seeing a lot of shift. Now, we know that there's a lot of pushing back from the Russians around Novopoprivka here to Robotyny into the north, but that Ukraine is pushing very hard then going into Vobove as well. So let's have a look. So between yesterday and today, the front line down here doesn't change, but we know they're having this south and this easterly push here and has made a fair bit of ground there. Now let's have a look on the daily Ukraine map update and see what this then shows. So this is the same area and doesn't show any significant change there, but does show the way things are pushing in that region, and the actual outline is showing very similar as well. So let's have a look then at this area on the ISW, what they are then saying, that it shows very similar as this push down here. We see that it's in line or just to the south of Novopoprivka, at least straight across. So showing very similarly of where Ukraine is continuing this push down from the ISW compared to then the deep state map. So then we have, here it is, the Syriac maps here as well. Ukrainian-Russian war, day 550. Situation on the Zap front. During the last 3 days, the Battle of Robotyny continued with high intensity. Ukrainian army is trying to secure the southern part of the town with small contingents of infantry, but it's taking serious problems due to the Russian artillery. On the other hand, the Ukrainian reinforcements consisted of mechanized troops, achieved significant gains east of the town, approaching on the one hand to the northeastern outskirts of Novopoprivka, and on the other hand, reaching the first Russian main defensive line. Moreover, troops managed to cross that line and reach the outskirts of Vobove, but finally Russian army managed to repel the attack and expel Ukrainian forces towards the other side of the line. So there's been a lot of back and forwards there too. So let's get rid of this. Let's bring up then these lines. So as we've seen, Ukraine has pushed significantly further then into these primary defensive lines of the Russian forces here. So the map won't show back and forward fighting, but it says there has been a lot of it in this area. Now, I don't actually have it with me now, but I'm going to show on the right-hand side of this screen, I'll show the Rybar Russian sources from today, and on the left, I will show the Rybar Russian sources from yesterday. So then where we're going to push further east up in the Staromorsky-Ruzhany front and see what changes we have seen here. Now, the ISW says that there are no changes in this area, but we do see a small shape shift there. Let's then push on to the daily Ukraine map update, see what changes are shown there. Nothing really, but I know Suryak does then talk about this. So here we go. Situation southwest of Donetsk, Ukrainian army made new advances northeast of Prigozhin in order to capture the heights of overlooks of the Mokry Valley. So where we are talking of, let's go back to this one, is in just this region here where we saw that small shape shift there, that they did capture some more positions, and this shows that the grey zone became less in that region, although the front line may not have shifted too much in there. So where we're going to go to actually next is just further east of there. So come down in here, we see Shevchenko here. Now, we haven't seen any change, but we did see that major sort of push in on both the daily map and then deep state from yesterday. And spoke about Suryak maps. Situation southwest of Donetsk, this is Shevchenko area. Ukraine made some advances in the grey area north of settlement of Shenchevko as well. So confirming that advancement. So where we're going to go to then next is, of course, up then into Bakhmut. Now, I do believe that this deep state map doesn't show any change here. No, it doesn't. But then we go on to the daily Ukraine map update. And, of course, where we're looking at where Ukraine is really pushing is this Andrivka area. So let's step back, and that's where we see. So in here, Andrivka to the south, we're seeing this push, and Ukraine make more ground into then the Russian lines there. So we know they're pushing hard around Klishkivka and Andrivka and making some ground there. Let's have a look at this from Suryak. Situation south of Bakhmut. During the last week, Ukrainian army managed to reach the outskirts of Andrivka and broke Russian defences within Klishkivka, thus entering in most of the town, which is 50-50 contested. Battles continue with high intensity as Russian army is continuously launching counterattacks to reverse the situations, with low success so far. So Russia is not having that much success in here, and Ukraine is pushing in. So Klishkivka, you can see here, is 50-50 Russian and Ukrainian, not really controlled. It is very contested, and that they're still pushing very hard into Avdiivka, seen by then the two maps. So where we're going to go to next is we're going to continue just north of here. Now, we haven't really seen any other changes except then to the west of Svatov. We do see Russia make some ground here, pushing from Kovalivka near this town here. So Russia did make a bit of ground there. We know there's been multiple pushes in and out of there, but Suryak maps, daily Ukraine map update, don't show that. But Deep State tend to be the most conservative on any gains, but that is the only change we've seen in this northeastern region. So daily Ukraine map update doesn't show this, but it does show something interesting up then around the Sinkivka area. So if we come up to Sinkivka, what we're going to see is that it is shown that Ukraine did make back some ground to the northeast then of Sinkivka there, so pushing the Russians back. As we know, Russia has made some ground around here. Now, this is where the claim Russian advances are from the ISW. So the ISW is saying that there's been an amount of Russian bloggers claim that Sinkivka all the way through is claimed under Russian control, of course being yellow. Assessed is then in the red. So Russia through Liman Pershi down through Vilshana as well, which is very close to then these same map updates, but maybe showing a bit more of confirmed in here. But Russia is claiming a lot in here. So let's see what then Suryak map says about this. Situation on the northeastern front, Russian army continue to make small advances in the forest area north of Sinkivka. The changes in the ground are minimal due to the continuous Ukrainian army counterattacks, which are repelled by the Russian army so far. So we do know that Russia, by Suryak maps, has moved further and further down to the southeast of Sinkivka, and what he's showing here is this is only the small advance made today. So in this forest area from Liman Pershi to then the west of Sinkivka. So there it's said to be the advances made over today. So as you can see, Ukraine has made more advances today than leading up and has had those massive drone strikes into Russia as well. Will we then see more decisive events come from this? I am unsure. It seems as if a lot of this will have like a big push and then like no follow-up decisive event, but maybe we'll continue to see a grind down, a push further through there. Anyway, legends, This one was a bit shorter. I hope so. I hope it made sense. Anyway, if you'd like to support me, links down below, but never feel obliged. Look after yourself. Have a great end to the week, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.